prayer of the backhanded. Not the palm, not the pear tree switch, not the broomstick, nor the closest extension cord, not his braided belt, but God bless the back of my daddy's hand, which, holding nothing tightly against me and not wrapped in leather, eliminated the air between itself and my cheek. Make full this dimpled cheek, unworthy of its unfisted print, and forgive my forgetting the love of a hand hungry for reflex, a hand that took no thought of its target, like hail from a blind sky, involuntary, fast, but brutal in its bruising. Father, I bear the bridge of what might have been a broken nose. I lift to you what was a busted lip. Bless the boy who believes his best beatings lack intention, the mark of the beast. Bring back to life the son who glories in the sin of immediacy, calling it love. God, save the man whose arm, like an angel's invisible wing, may fly backward in fury whether or not his son stands near. Help me hold in place my blazing jaw as I think to say, excuse me. Thank you so much. Y'all don't have to clap after every poem, but I really appreciate it, and you're welcome to. People usually wait to clap at the end because by that time I don't have any clothes on. Thank you so much for that introduction, Sandy. Thank you to Sandy and to everyone who works with this series, everyone at Pulaski Tech, everyone who had anything to do with having me here. It's been a joy to be this close to Shreveport, and which is where I'm from. I'm going to read a few poems from my first book, Please. I'll also read a few poems from a book that's coming out in August titled The New Testament. My mother's really angry with me about that title. And I'll give terms and background before reading the poem when necessary. Can everybody hear me? Can y'all hear me in the back? Y'all can hear me okay? All right, thank you. Labor. I spent what light Saturday sent sweating and learned to cuss, cutting grass for women kind enough to say they couldn't tell the damned difference between their mowed lawns and their vacuumed carpets just before handing over a $5 bill rolled tighter than a joint and asking me in to change a few light bulbs. I called those women old because they wouldn't move out of a chair without my help or walk without a hand at the base of their backs. I called them old, and they must have been. They're all dead now, dead and in the earth I once tended. The loneliest people have the earth to love, and not one friend their own age, only mothers to baby them and big sisters to boss them around, women they want to please and pray for the chance to say please to. I don't do that kind of work anymore. My job is to look at the childhood I hated and say I once had something to do with my hands. again. You are not as tired of the poem as I am of the memory, a returning toothache on either side of the mouth, an ingrown hair beneath the chin, simple itch, bruising scratch. And again, I am bundled in Cousin Kenny's clothes from last school year, my hand held by my mother's. We walk as if the house behind us isn't warm enough for my feet. In the dark, we make a few blocks around the one-story neighborhood that I loved, though nothing I've written tells you this. I want to cut it out of me because turns out it never mattered. Right now, my mother's asleep on my father's chest. His arm has landed in the same place around her most of 30 years. Give a man a minute. She's asleep, and I'm typing it all over again. Everywhere, a man is shifting a bit to make his woman more comfortable in his arms. I should have told you this lines ago. We walked back to the house we ran from because my mother loves her husband and his hands, even if laid heavy against her. I know you don't want to believe that, but give a man a minute. We're not done. My father loves his wife and the shape of her body, even if hunched in retreat, their son keeping up. I'm so sick of it. Another awful father scarring. This page too, a bruising scratch. We walked back through an open door. And why don't I mention how he kissed my forehead before covering me on the couch that was my bed? Listen, and you can hear them in the next room, planning names for the youngest of us, then making love loud enough for the oldest to learn. This next poem is a poem I don't get to read everywhere because it has a weird title. But I'll read it here because I'm in Arkansas. The title is, I like y'all. I feel like they're going to ask me for money after this. So you see how much work we did for you? The title is Nim. Now, it sounds like a word you don't know, but the truth is that I know you know this word, because whenever you're talking about somebody and the people that you associate with that person, you say that person's name and then you follow that with the phrase Nim. So I'll give you an example of this in a sentence. Let's say you're watching the Super Bowl halftime show last year, not this last one, the one before. And you like Beyonce, but you don't like Destiny's Child. So you would say, oh, the show was good, but I really ain't about all that. I don't really like Beyonce now. That's how that word works. You see what I'm saying? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Everybody doesn't understand that. See, but everybody over here understands everything I'm saying. All right. Nim. They said to say goodnight and not goodbye. Unplugged the TV when it rained. They hid money in mattresses, so to sleep on their decisions. Some of their children were not their children. Some of their parents had no birth dates. They could sweat a cold out of you. They'd wake without an alarm telling them to. Even the short ones reached certain shelves. Even the skinny cooked animals too quick to catch. And I don't care how ugly one of them arrived, that one got married to somebody fine. They fed families with change and wiped their kitchens clean. Then another century came. People like me forgot their names. The only thing you may need to know for this next poem is it's an elegy for a poem. An elegy is simply a poem for the dead. It's an elegy for a poem who was the choir director at the church where I grew up. I grew up singing in choirs, which is hilarious considering the fact that I can't hold the note. There used to, now when you go to church you have to audition for choir, but it used to be, you know, when I grew up, look, can I tell y'all this story? I'll never forget this. No, seriously, this happened in real life. When we were growing up, me and my sister, I remember we got to a certain age and my mother took us aside and she said this, I'll never forget this. She said, you can either be on the youth usher board or you can be in the youth choir or you can go to jail. I thought that was so sad. And I didn't want to go to jail. And I noticed that the ushers were standing for long periods of time. So that's how I ended up in the choir. Herman Finley is dead. The birds know a day made for defeat. Not one of them sings. Instead, they make a toilet of your newly washed car. Don't cry over it. Listen to the birds. You too should shut up. But first, tell every alto you know to hold her muddy breath. Bid every obese soprano a 40-day fast. Get any man who ever sang in a choir, head bowed, none praying. Summon both the interpreter and the speaker of tongues. Pinch their burning lips. Contact the necessary limp-wristed whose every suit is an Easter suit, bright and loud enough to flame in hell. I want them all wearing their worst black. Call Nelson Dimery and Shanetta Brown. Tell them to turn off the radio, whether the station plays gospel or blues. Tell them Herman Finley is dead. Then tell them what God loves, the truth, the disease your mother's mouth won't mention, got bored with nibbling away at the insides of his body and today decided to swallow Herman Finley whole. Tell them they must chop and torch each piano before helping me bolt the doors of all the Baptist churches from Shreveport to Monroe. I don't want a single hum. We will not worship save for silence. Watch the birds shit in peace. When the choir director's arms fall, the choir must not sing. This next poem is a persona poem, which means it's most definitely in the voice of someone else other than the poet. You may want to know that Janis Joplin recorded the Gershwin standard Summertime with Big Brother and the Holding Company for their 1968 chart-topping album, Cheap Thrills. She died of a heroin overdose in 1970. She was 27 years old. Track 5, Summertime, as performed by Janis Joplin. God's got his eye on me, but I ain't a sparrow. I'm more like a lawnmower, no, a chainsaw. Anything that might mangle each manicured lawn in Port Arthur, a place I wouldn't return to if the mayor offered me every ounce of oil my daddy cans at the refinery. My voice, I mean, ain't sweet, nothing nice about it. It won't fly, even with Jesus watching. I don't believe in Jesus. The Baxter boys climbed a tree just to throw persimmons at me. The good and perfect gifts from above hit like lightning, leave bruises. So I lied, I believe, but I don't think God likes me. The girls in the locker room slapped dirty pads across my face. They called me bitch, but I never bit back. I ain't a dog. Chainsaw, I say. My voice hacks at you. I bet I tear my throat. I try so hard to sound jagged. I get high and say one thing so many times, like Willie Baker, who worked across the street. I saw some kids whip him with a belt while he repeated, please. School out, summertime, and the living lashed. Mama said I should be thankful that the town's worse to coloreds than they are to me, that I'd grow out of my acne. God must love Willie Baker, all that leather, and still a please that sounds like music. See, I wouldn't know a sparrow from a mockingbird. The band plays, I just belt out, please. This tune ain't half the blues. I should be thankful I get high and moan like a lawnmower so nobody notices. I'm such an ugly girl. I'm such an ugly girl. I try to sing like a man boys call boy. I turn my face to God. I pray. I wish I could pour oil on everything green in Port Arthur. From the King James Version of the Bible, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Romans 12:1. I will begin with the body. In the year of our Lord, porous and wet, love-racked and willing, in my 23rd year, a certain obsession overtook my body, or I should say, I let a man touch me until I bled, until my blood met his hunger, and so was changed, was given a new name, as is the practice among my people, who are several and whole, holy and acceptable, on the whole hurt by me. They will not call me brother. Hear me coming, and they cross their legs, as men are wont to hate women, as women are taught to hate themselves. They hate a woman. They smell in me. Every muscle of her body clenched in fits beneath men, heavy as heaven. My body, dear, dying, sacrifice, desirous as I will be, black as I am. This next poem is for my friend Brian and everybody who's lucky enough to meet the person they love in church. Host. We want pictures of everything below your waist, and we want pictures of your waist. We can't talk right now, but we will text you into coitus. All thumbs, all bi-coastal and discreet and masculine and muscular, no whites, everybody atop. We got a career to think about, no face. We got kids to remember, no one over 29, no one under 30. Our exes hurt us into hurting them, disease free, no drugs. We like to get high with the right person. You got a girl? Bring your boy. We visiting, room at the W. Names D, names J. We DJ, we Trey, we Troy, we Q. We not sending a face. Where should we go tonight? You coming through? Please know what a gym looks like. Not much time, no strings, no place, no face. Be clean. We haven't met anyone here yet. Why is it so hard to make friends? No games. You still coming through? Latinos only. Blacks will do. We can take one right now. Text it to you. Be there next week. Be there in June. We not a phone person. We can host, but we won't meet without a recent pic and a real name and the sound of your deepest voice. You may want to know for this next poem who Elin Harris is. Elin Harris wrote 10 consecutive books of popular fiction that made the New York Times bestseller list. He died of making him actually the most popular African American or gay writer of all time, which is sort of funny. But anyway, he died of heart disease in 2009, and he was 54 years old. The 10 Commandments. But I could be covetous. I could be a thief. Could want and work for. Could wire and deceive. I thought to fool the moon into a doubt. I did some doubting. Lord, forgive me. In New Orleans that winter, I waited for a woman to find me shirtless on her back porch. Why? She meant it rhetorically and hit me with open hands. How many times can a woman say why with her hands in the moonlight? I counted 10 like light breaking hard on my head. 10 rhetorical whys and half a moon, half nude. I let her light into me. I could be last on a list of lovers Joe Adams would see, and first to find his wife slapping the spit out of me. I could be sick and sullen. I could sulk and sigh. I could be a novel character by Elin Harris, but even he'd allow me some dignity. He loved black people too much to write about a wife whipping her rival on a night people in Louisiana call cold. He'd have Joe Adams run out back and pull her off of me. He wouldn't think I deserved it. Homeland. I knew I had jet lag because no one would make love to me. All the men thought me a vampire. All the women were women. In America that year, black people kept dreaming that the president got shot. Then the president got shot. Breaking into the White House, he claimed to have lost his keys. What's the proper name for a man caught stealing into his own home? I asked a few passengers. They replied, Jigger. After that, I took the red eye. I took to a sigh deep as the end of a day in the dark fields below us. Some slept, but nobody named security ever believes me. Confiscated my Atripla, my Celexa, my cortisone, my Klonopin, my Flexeril, my Zyrtec, my Nazarel, my Percocet, my Ambien. Nobody in this nation feels safe, and I'm still a reason why. Every day something gets thrown away on account of long history, or hair, or fingernails, or yes, of course, my fangs. Heart condition. I don't want to hurt a man, but I like to hear one beg. 2 people touch twice a month in 10 hotels, and we call it long distance. He holds down one coast, I wander the other like any African American. Africa with its condition, and America with its condition, and black folk born in this nation content to carry half of each. I shoulder my share. My man flies to touch me. Sky on our side, sky above his world I wish to write, which is where I go wrong. Words are a sense of sound. I get smart. My mother shakes her head. My grandmother sighs, he ain't got no sense. My grandmother is dead. She lives with me. I hear my mother shake her head over the phone. Somebody cut the cord. We have a long distance relationship. I lost half of her to a stroke. God gives to each a body. God gives every body its pains. When pain mounts in my body, I try thinking of my white forefathers who hurt their black bastards quite legally. I hate to say it, but one pain can ease another. Doctors, rather I take pills. My man wants me to see a doctor. What are you when you leave your man wanting? What am I now that I think so fondly of airplanes? What's my name? Whose is it? While we make love. My lover leaves me with words I wish to write, flies from one side of a nation to the outside of our world. I don't want the world. I only want African sense of American sound. Him touching this body, aware of its pains. Greetings, earthlings. My name is slow and stumbling. I come from planet trouble. I am here to love you, uncomfortable. Thank you.